The notification comes at 2:47 a.m. Han Ji-hoon doesn't sleep much anymore. Power doesn't rest, and neither does the heir to Beko Group. But when his phone lights up on the mahogany desk, when he sees that name after 2 years of silence, his hand freezes mid-reach. The message is 3 words. Your son, no milk. He reads it again. Then again. The characters blur and sharpen. His son, the baby he never knew existed. The woman who vanished from his life after discovering what he really was. Not just a businessman, but something the world whispers about in basements and back rooms. Not just powerful, dangerous. Across Seoul, in a fourth-floor walk-up where the heating barely works, Zuri Miller stares at her phone screen. Her thumb hovers over the delete button. She can take it back. Pretend she never sent it. Pretend she's strong enough to handle one more night of Min Jae's hungry cries echoing off thin walls. But her wallet holds 2001. The corner store closed an hour ago. And the baby in her arms, 10 months old with his father's sharp eyes and her stubborn chin, needs to eat. She closes her eyes. Hits send on the address. The phone vibrates immediately. 1 word. Coming. 20 minutes later, a black Genesis GV80 pulls up to a building where luxury cars don't belong. Yoon Soo, Ji-hoon's right hand, steps out first. He scans the street with the practiced caution of a man who's seen too many ambushes. Then, he opens the back door. Ji-hoon emerges in a black suit that costs more than 3 months of Zuri's rent. He carries a paper bag from a 24-hour convenience store. The fluorescent lights catch the edges of his face. Sharp, cold, beautiful, in a way that once made her forget to be careful. He walks like a man who owns the ground beneath his feet, but his knuckles are white around that paper bag. Zuri opens the door before he can knock. She's wearing an old sweater, her hair tied back, exhaustion written in the shadows under her eyes. Still, she stands straight, chin up, the way she always did, even when his world tried to make her small. "Just leave the milk," she says. Her voice doesn't shake. Not much. "And go." He looks at her. Really looks, the way he used to before everything broke. "I came for my son." Behind her, Min Jae whimpers. The sound cuts through 2 years of silence like a blade. "He's not a possession you can claim," Zuri whispers. "No." Ji-hoon's voice drops lower, rougher. "He's my child, and I won't leave him hungry." The moment stretches. Rain starts to fall outside, soft against the window. "1 bottle," Zuri finally says. "Then you leave." But they both know some doors once opened don't close again. Zuri watches Ji-hoon step inside. The apartment shrinks around him. Not because he's tall, though he is, but because men like him don't fit in spaces this small, this honest. She locks the door. Old habit. In this neighborhood, you lock doors. In his world, she learned, doors are locked to keep people in. "The kitchen's there." She gestures. Doesn't move closer. Ji-hoon sets the paper bag on the counter. His movements are precise, controlled. She remembers that control, how it felt like safety until she learned it was a cage. He pulls out formula, bottled water, diapers. More than she asked for, more than 3 words could demand. How long? His back stays turned. How long what? How long has it been like this? Zuri's jaw tightens. She shifts Min Jae to her other hip. The baby's stopped crying now, staring at the stranger with wide, curious eyes. Ji-hoon's eyes, dark and assessing even at 10 months. Does it matter? She keeps her voice level. "You weren't there. Because you left." He turns now, without a word, without... Without telling you I was pregnant with the child of a man who runs an empire built on fear? Zuri's voice rises, then drops. Min-jae startles. She softens immediately, bouncing him gently. I left because staying meant becoming part of something I couldn't justify. Not to myself. Not to him. Jihoon's expression doesn't change. That mask. She used to think she could read past it. Used to believe the man underneath was different from the heir everyone feared. You should have told me. Each word carefully measured. Would you have let me go? Silence. The refrigerator hums. Outside, a siren wails past, a sound so common in this part of Seoul that neither of them reacts. But Zuri sees Yoon-soo's shadow shift in the doorway, always watching, always guarding. The formula needs warm water, she says quietly. Not hot. Test it on your wrist. Jihoon moves to the sink. His hands that have signed contracts worth billions, hands that have done things she doesn't let herself imagine, fumble with the bottle. He's efficient in boardrooms and on streets where deals turn deadly. But this language of caregiving is foreign. Zuri doesn't help. Can't. If she steps closer, if she lets herself remember what his presence used to mean, she'll crumble. Min-jae reaches toward Jihoon, little fingers grasping air. He doesn't know you, Zuri says. Warning or reassurance, she's not sure. I know. Jihoon tests the formula temperature, his wrist pale against the bottle. But I'm here now. That's what she's afraid of. Not that he came, that he'll stay, that his world, the one she ran from, will swallow them whole. The baby drinks. Jihoon holds him awkwardly at first, then adjusts. Some instinct clicking into place. Father and son. The sight steals Zuri's breath. She turns away, looks out the window at the rain streaking glass. Somewhere in this city, in a penthouse she once visited, there's a life that could have been hers. Silk sheets and safety. But safety bought with blood isn't real. Why now? She asks the window. Why come? Because he's mine. That's not love. That's ownership. Then teach me the difference. Zuri turns. Jihoon's looking at her over their son's head. For the first time since he walked in, the mask slips, just for a second. And underneath, he's terrified. If this story is pulling at your heart, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. These two have a long road ahead. Min-jae falls asleep against Jihoon's chest. The baby's tiny fist curls into the expensive fabric of his father's shirt. Jihoon doesn't move, doesn't breathe loud enough to disturb him. Zuri watches from across the room. She should take Min-jae, put him in his crib, create distance. But something keeps her frozen, the way Jihoon's hand cradles their son's head, protective and gentle. The contradiction of violence and tenderness in one gesture. I can't let you stay here. Jihoon's voice is barely a whisper. Not in this building. Not in this neighborhood. It's home. It's not safe. Zuri's laugh comes out bitter. And your world is? The one where men in suits make people disappear? Where every dinner has a bodyguard at the door? At least there, no one would dare touch us? She stands. Because we'd belong to you? Like property? Jihoon carefully, so carefully, rises, moves to the crib, a second-hand thing with chipped paint that Zuri bought for 50,000 won. He lays Min-jae down. The baby sighs but doesn't wake. Then Jihoon turns, and the careful control is back. I have a house, he says. In Songbukdong, gated, secure. A room for him, for you. I'm not moving into your house. Then I'm moving here. The absurdity should make her laugh. Han Jihoon, heir to Beko Group, living in a fourth-floor walk-up with broken heating and walls thin enough to hear the neighbors argue. But he's serious. She sees it in the set of his shoulders. You can't. Watch me. Jihoon. She steps closer. Close enough to see the shadow of stubble on his jaw, the exhaustion he hides behind that perfect posture. You don't get to do this. Show up after 2 years and rearrange our lives because you feel guilty or whatever this is. This is me, he says quietly, trying to be a father. Fathers don't terrorize neighborhoods by existing in them. Your presence alone. She gestures to the window where Yoon-soo stands watch. That brings attention, danger. Then come with me, where I can protect you. I don't need your protection. I need... Her voice breaks. She hates that it does. I need you to understand that leaving was the hardest thing I've ever done. That every day I look at Min-jae and see you. That I can't... She stops. Too much. Too honest. Jihoon moves closer, not touching, but close enough that she can smell his cologne, cedar, and something darker, like smoke. Can't what? Can't let myself want this. The truth, raw and bleeding. Can't let myself imagine a world where you're not what you are, where we could be a family. The word hangs between them, heavy, impossible. Outside, a car backfires. Zuri flinches. Jihoon's hand moves to his side, an instinct she recognizes, reaching for a weapon that isn't there. Or maybe is. She doesn't know anymore. Doesn't want to. See? She wraps her arms around herself. Even now, you're thinking about threats, about control. That's not the life I want for our son. Then what life do you want? Jihoon asks. This? Struggling to buy milk? Working double shifts at a diner while strangers watch him? Mrs. Kim isn't a stranger. She's my neighbor, my friend. And when Mrs. Kim can't watch him, when you're too exhausted to stand, when... He stops, runs a hand through his hair, the first uncontrolled gesture she's seen. I have resources, Zuri. Let me use them. Resources aren't love. No, he agrees, but love without resources is martyrdom, and he deserves better. The words land like a blow. Because he's not wrong? She's been running on pride and stubbornness, but pride doesn't feed a baby. Stubbornness doesn't pay rent. 1 week, she hears herself say. You want to prove you're serious about being a father? Come back tomorrow. And the day after. And the day after that. Show up when it's not dramatic. When it's just life. Jihoon's eyes narrow. A test. A chance. She meets his gaze. Prove you're not just reacting to guilt or obligation. Prove you actually want this. He considers. She can see him calculating, weighing options. That's his world. Strategy and leverage. But then he nods. 1 week, he agrees. Every day. Morning, she specifies. 7 a.m. When Min-jae wakes up. Be here. Done. And Jihoon? She stops him at the door. Come alone. No bodyguards in the hallway. No cars that scream money. If you want to be part of our world, you have to actually be in it, not hovering above. Something flickers in his expression. Respect, maybe, or challenge accepted. 7 a.m., he repeats. I'll be here. He leaves. The apartment feels larger and emptier at once. Zuri locks the door, 3 locks, because old habits die hard. Through the window, she watches the Genesis pull away. She doesn't let herself cry. Not yet. Not until she's sure he can't somehow see. Jihoon arrives at 6:47 a.m. Zuri answers the door in her diner uniform, a simple dress and apron that smells like coffee and yesterday's breakfast rush. Min-jae's already awake, babbling in his crib. "You're early," she says. "Didn't want to be late." He's dressed differently today. Still expensive, but simpler. Dark jeans, a sweater. Almost normal. Almost like he belongs. She lets him in. The morning routine unfolds. Changing Min-jae, preparing breakfast, the small dance of caregiving. Ji-hoon watches, absorbs. When she hands him the baby, he's less awkward than before. "I have to leave for work in 20 minutes, Zuri says. "Mrs. Kim will be here at 8 to watch him." "I'll stay until then." "You don't have to." "I want to." They settle into an uneasy rhythm. Zuri eats toast standing up, a habit from too many rushed mornings. Ji-hoon sits with Min-jae, attempting to interest him in soft blocks. The baby seems more interested in his father's watch, reaching for the shine. "Expensive toy," Zuri observes. "He has good taste." Almost a joke. She almost smiles. Then her phone rings. Unknown number. She answers warily. "Ms. Miller?" A man's voice. Professional, cold. "I'm calling from Beko Group's legal department. We'd like to schedule a meeting regarding custody arrangements for..." Zuri's blood goes ice. "What?" "The minor child, Min-jae. We believe it's in everyone's best interest to formalize." She hangs up, turns to Ji-hoon. He's still sitting with Min-jae, but something in his posture has changed. Guilty awareness. "Did you..." Her voice shakes. "Did you send lawyers after my son?" "Our son." "Answer the question!" Min-jae starts to cry. The sound cuts through everything. Zuri scoops him up automatically, but her eyes never leave Ji-hoon's face. He stands slowly. "I spoke with legal yesterday about options. I didn't tell them to call you, but you set this in motion." Each word drops like a stone. "You came here talking about proving yourself, about being a father, and all along you were..." "What?" "Building a case, gathering ammunition." "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" She's shouting now, can't help it. "You think because you have money and power, you can just take him? That I'm some obstacle to remove?" "Zuri, get out." "Let me explain." "Get out!" Ji-hoon doesn't move. "I'm not trying to take him from you. I'm trying to protect him. Both of you." "By threatening me with lawyers? By using the system against someone who can't afford to fight back?" "That's not..." He stops. Something crumbles in his expression. "You're right." The admission stuns her to silence. "You're right," he repeats. "I'm used to controlling situations. Using leverage. It's how I've survived. But that's not..." He looks at Min-jae, still crying in Zuri's arms. "That's not how to build trust. That's not how to be a father." "No," Zuri says coldly. "It's not. I'll call them off, the lawyers, immediately. And I'm supposed to just believe you?" Ji-hoon pulls out his phone, dials, puts it on speaker. When someone answers, he says clearly, "This is Han Ji-hoon. Cancel all legal proceedings regarding Min-jae Miller immediately and fire whoever called his mother without my direct authorization. Sir, the custody strategy requires..." "I'm not pursuing custody. I'm pursuing a relationship. If you can't understand the difference, you don't work for me." He hangs up, looks at Zuri. Satisfied? She should be, but all she feels is exhausted. Why should this be different from all the other times you've said something to get what you want? Because this time, I'm not pretending I know what I'm doing. His voice drops, raw, honest. I don't know how to be what he needs, what you need. I only know how to be what I was raised to be. Powerful, untouchable, in control. But that man, he's lonely. He's empty. And he just lost the only thing that's made him feel human in 2 years. The confession hangs in the air. Min-jae's crying has softened to whimpers. I can't do this, Zuri whispers. I can't constantly wonder if you're maneuvering behind my back, if every gentle moment is just strategy. Then I'll stop strategizing. He steps back, creating distance. Respect. The first love check clicking into place. Tell me your terms. What do you need from me to trust this? Transparency, she says immediately. Complete. If you're thinking about lawyers or moving us or anything involving our son, you talk to me first. Not your advisors. Not your legal team. Me. Done. And you stop trying to fix everything with money. Sometimes, she bounces Min-jae gently. Sometimes what we need is just presence. Just showing up, like you agreed to. 7 a.m., he confirms. Every day. Even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when board meetings or mafia business or whatever calls. There is no mafia, he interrupts quietly. Beko Group is legitimate, mostly. A pause. The part that isn't, I'm working on changing, for him. Zuri searches his face, looking for the lie, the manipulation, but all she sees is a man trying to climb out of a pit he was born into. Okay, she finally says. Tomorrow, 7 a.m., we try again. Thank you. He leaves before she can change her mind. When the door closes, Zuri sinks onto the couch. Min-jae has stopped crying, looking up at her with those serious eyes. Your daddy, she tells him softly, is either the most dangerous thing that could happen to us or the most motivational, and I don't know which yet. Through the window, she watches Yoon-soo open the car door for Ji-hoon. But before he gets in, Ji-hoon looks back up at the 4th floor. Just for a second. She doesn't wave, doesn't acknowledge it, but she doesn't look away either. Day 3. Ji-hoon arrives at 6:52 a.m. with a bag from the bakery down the street. Fresh bread, the kind Mrs. Kim buys, not the expensive French patisserie kind. He's learning. Zuri lets him in. Min-jae reaches for him immediately now, recognition lighting those small features. Progress, fragile as morning frost. Coffee? She offers. Please? They move around each other carefully, a dance of almost trust. Ji-hoon feeds Min-jae while Zuri gets ready for work. The domesticity is strange, surreal, like trying on someone else's life. I looked into that thing you mentioned, Ji-hoon says casually, about legitimizing more of the business. And? It's complicated. He wipes pureed sweet potato from Min-jae's chin. Some of our contracts have historical obligations, relationships that can't be severed cleanly. Meaning? Meaning it will take time, but I'm committed to it. He looks up. For him, so he doesn't grow up ashamed of his father's name. Zuri pauses. The vulnerability there, it costs him. She can see it. Reciprocity, the second love check. He's matching her honesty with his own. That's motivational, she says quietly. Really? A knock at the door interrupts. Mrs. Kim's voice calls out in Korean. Zuri opens it, and the older woman bustles in with her usual warmth, then stops short, seeing Ji-hoon. Oh, Mrs. Kim's eyes go wide. Mr. Han, I didn't know. Mrs. Kim. Ji-hoon stands, bows respectfully, a gesture Zuri's never seen him make. Thank you for caring for my son. Mrs. Kim glances between them, uncertain. Zuri gives a small nod, permission to relax. He's a good baby, Mrs. Kim says in careful English. Very smart, like his mother. And stubborn like his father, Zuri adds dryly. The moment could be awkward, but Mrs. Kim's presence softens it. She moves to take Minjae, cooing in Korean. The baby goes willingly, comfortable with her. I should go, Zuri says. I'm opening the diner today. I'll walk you down, Ji-hoon offers. They leave together. In the stairwell, away from listening ears, Ji-hoon speaks. She's good with him, Mrs. Kim. She's been a lifeline. I'd like to. He stops. May I compensate her for her time? She'd refuse. It's what neighbors do here. Then perhaps a gift, not payment, just gratitude. Zuri considers. Nothing extravagant. She'd be insulted. Understood. They reach the street. Morning Seoul is waking up. Vendors opening, commuters rushing, the city's heartbeat starting slow. Ji-hoon's car waits at the curb. Yoon-soo by the door. Tonight, Ji-hoon says suddenly. Have dinner with me. Not at a restaurant, not formal, just. He struggles with the words. I want to know you again. Not the woman I built in my memory. The real you. Why? Because Minjae deserves parents who understand each other, and I don't understand how you survived these 2 years. How you've managed to be so. He gestures, frustrated by language's limits. So strong and soft at once? The compliment lands unexpectedly. Zuri's not used to being seen that way. Strong, yes. That's survival. But soft? That's the part she's had to hide. I get off at 6, she hears herself say. Mrs. Kim can watch him until 8. I'll pick you up. No. She's firm. I'll meet you. Neutral ground. He nods, learning. Where? There's a pojangmatcha near the river, the one with the yellow tent. Nothing fancy, just soju and talk. 7 o'clock? 7. He watches her go. Doesn't offer a ride even though she's walking to the subway in worn shoes. Doesn't try to fix what she hasn't asked him to. It's growth. Small but real. Zuri feels his eyes on her back all the way to the corner. When she finally turns, glances back, he's still there. Waiting to make sure she's safe. She shouldn't find it romantic. It's probably some control thing, some protective instinct born from his world's dangers. But her heart, traitorous thing, warms anyway. That evening, the pojangmatcha is busy. Zuri arrives first, claims a corner table. The plastic stools are uncomfortable, the air thick with grilling meat and conversation. Nothing like the places Ji-hoon usually frequents. He arrives exactly at 7. Dressed down again, jeans, a simple jacket. But he still stands out. The way he carries himself, that unconscious authority, marks him as different. You came, she says. I said I would. He sits, folding his long legs awkwardly under the small table. I keep my promises. That's new? No. He's serious. I always kept my promises to you. It's why I never made many. I knew I couldn't. He stops, regroups. I knew my world made promises dangerous. The owner comes, and Zuri orders in Korean, makioli and anju. Ji-hoon doesn't protest, doesn't try to upgrade the order, just waits. Tell me about these 2 years, he says, when they're alone again. If you want to. Zuri pours the cloudy rice wine. You really want to know? Yes. It was hard. She doesn't soften it. Finding out I was pregnant right after I left, deciding to keep him even though I had no idea how I'd manage, dropping out of medical school. His hand tightens on his cup. You were so close to finishing. 3 semesters. She drinks. The makgeolli is sweet, easy. But I couldn't afford it. And a baby. Couldn't ask my family for help. They never approved of us anyway. Thought you were too old, too mysterious. Turns out they were right about the mysterious part. I should have, what? Been honest about running an organization that operates in legal gray areas? That would have gone over well. She's not angry anymore, just tired. I don't blame you for what you are, Jihoon. I blame you for making me think you were something else. I never lied. No, you just omitted, redirected. Let me believe what I wanted to believe. She meets his eyes. That's worse, in some ways. He absorbs this, nods slowly. You're right. So now you know. I worked double shifts while pregnant. Had Min Jae in a public hospital. Went back to work 3 weeks later because I couldn't afford not to. Mrs. Kim helped, and some other neighbors. People with less than you could imagine, who still found ways to show up. That community. Jihoon's voice is thoughtful. It's what I couldn't give you. What I didn't even know existed. Because you've been isolated by wealth and power your whole life. Yes. Simple, honest, vulnerable. The third love check. I thought I was protecting you by keeping you separate from my business. But really, I was keeping you from knowing me. The real me. The food arrives. They eat in companionable silence for a while. Around them, the pojangmacha pulses with life. Laughter, arguments, the casual intimacy of strangers sharing space. Do you remember, Jihoon says eventually, the first time we met? Hospital cafeteria. You were visiting someone. A business associate, you said. She smiles slightly. You spilled coffee on my textbook. And you chewed me out in 3 languages. You deserved it. That textbook was expensive. I bought you a new one and asked for your number. And I said no. Zuri laughs softly. 3 times. You made me work for it. His expression softens with memory. No one had done that before. Everyone else just said yes to whatever I wanted. That should have been my first clue. Probably. They look at each other across the small table. The past sits between them, complicated and unresolved. But something else too. Possibility. The idea that people can change, grow, become better than they were. I'm scared, Zuri admits, of letting you back in, of Minjai getting attached and then you deciding this is too hard, too mundane. I won't. You can't promise that. No, he agrees, but I can promise to try. Every day, even when it's hard, especially then. Why? She needs to understand. Why now? Why show up after 2 years? Is it guilt? Obligation? Some twisted sense of ownership? At first, he's brutally honest. All of those. When I got your text, my first thought was that something of mine needed me. Not someone. Something. He looks down at his hands. But then I saw him, and he was real. Real, Jihoon echoes. Not an abstract concept, not an obligation, a person, small and helpless, and mine in a way that had nothing to do with ownership. And when I looked at you, his voice roughens. You'd done it alone. Everything I should have been there for, you handled. I was ashamed. Shame isn't enough. No, but it's a start. He reaches across the table, doesn't touch her, but his hand rests there, an offering. I can't undo the past, can't give you back those 2 years, but I can show up for the next ones, if you'll let me. Zuri looks at his hand. The choice, the 4th love check, is hers. She could walk away, raise Min-jae alone, build a life without this complication. But when she thinks about her son growing up without a father who wants to try, who's willing to change, she places her hand over Jihoon's. 1 day at a time. 1 day at a time, he agrees. Around them, the pojangmacha continues its noisy existence. But in their corner, something shifts. Not fixed, not perfect, but possible. Week 2. Jihoon doesn't miss a morning. Not when he has a board meeting at 8. Not when Yoon-soo warns him about a brewing territorial dispute. Not even when he's up all night handling a crisis that could cost millions. He shows up. Tired sometimes, distracted occasionally, but present. Zuri notices. More than that, she starts to lean on it. Stops triple-checking that he'll actually be there. Starts to let herself imagine this as sustainable. Min-jae notices too. When Jihoon walks in, the baby's whole face lights up. Arms reaching. That universal child demand. Up. He's starting to say words, Zuri mentions one morning. Mama. Baba, that's bottle. Appa? Jihoon asks hopefully. Not yet, but soon. She smiles. He's stubborn. Makes you work for it. Runs in the family. It's becoming easier, this domestic dance. Jihoon has learned Min-jae's schedule, his preferences. Knows he likes his porridge warm but not hot. That he'll only sleep if the room is slightly cold. That he hates having his face wiped but tolerates it if you sing while doing it. Zuri's shown him these things patiently. And Jihoon, raised by nannies and drivers, educated in the finest schools but ignorant of basics, has learned. Not just the actions, but the why behind them. The caregiving as love, not transaction. I need to tell you something, Jihoon says one morning. They're sitting on the floor, building a tower of blocks that Min-jae immediately destroys with glee. About the business. Zuri's hands still. Okay. I'm restructuring, selling off the problematic divisions, the ones that operate in those gray areas. Jihoon, let me finish. He rebuilds the tower. Min-jae knocks it down again. It's not just for you, or even for him, it's for me. I'm tired, Zuri. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Of wondering which deal will be the one that crosses a line I can't uncross. Of becoming my father. Will it work? Can you just walk away? Not walk away. Transform. He looks at her. But it won't be easy. There will be pushback. People who depend on those arrangements, who will see this as weakness or betrayal. Will it be dangerous? Possibly. He won't lie. But staying the same is dangerous too. Just in different ways. Zuri processes this. The commitment, the fifth love check he's offering. Not just to her or Min-jae, but to becoming someone different. Someone better. What do you need from me? She asks. Your patience, and maybe, he hesitates. Maybe someday your trust. Real trust, not just tolerance. I'm working on it. She's honest. It's hard to trust when I've been burned. When your world has shown me how quickly things can turn dark. I know. He does. She sees it in the way he's careful with his words, his actions. But I'm not asking you to trust the man I was. I'm asking you to trust the man I'm trying to become. Min-jae babbles, oblivious to the weight of adult conversation. He crawls into Jihoon's lap, then reaches for Zuri, wanting both. Not choosing one or the other, but including everyone in his small, safe world. He makes it look easy, Zuri says softly. What? Loving us both. He doesn't know he's not supposed to. Doesn't understand the complications. Jihoon holds their son carefully. Maybe that's the most inspirational part. That he can teach us what we've forgotten. How to love without armor. The moment stretches. Zuri lets herself see it. Really see it. This man holding their baby. Not performing or strategizing. Just being. Appa. Father. The role he's growing into slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. Stay for breakfast, she offers. Not just the feeding part, the whole thing. Pancakes and chaos. His smile is small but real. I'd like that. Later, after Ji-hoon leaves and Mrs. Kim arrives, Zuri's phone rings. Unknown number again. Her stomach drops, remembering the lawyer incident. But when she answers, it's a woman's voice. Older, refined. Ms. Miller, this is Choi Sun-hee. I'm Han Ji-hoon's mother. Zuri sits down slowly. Mrs. Han, I'd like to meet you, and my grandson. No preamble, no softening. This afternoon, if possible. I can come to you. I'm not here to threaten or judge. The woman's voice softens slightly. I simply want to know the child my son speaks of constantly, and the woman who raised him alone. Ji-hoon talks about us? He talks about little else. A pause. My son has been many things. Driven, brilliant, sometimes frightening in his focus. But until now, he's never been lit up. That's your doing, Ms. Miller. You and the baby. I want to understand that. Zuri's mind races. Meeting Ji-hoon's mother, a woman she's only heard about in passing. The matriarch of Baeko Group. The one who raised a son to inherit an empire. 2:00, Zuri hears herself say. At the park near here, neutral ground. I'll be there. When Mrs. Kim asks what's wrong, Zuri just shakes her head. I'm about to find out if this romance is really possible, or if his family will never accept us. Mrs. Kim, who's seen enough dramas to understand, just pats her hand. You're stronger than you know. And that baby? He's your shield. No grandmother can resist. Zuri hopes she's right. At 1:58 p.m., a town car pulls up to the playground. Not the flashy Genesis, but something understated. An older woman emerges, elegant in the way that comes from generations of refinement, but dressed simply. She carries a wrapped box. Zuri stands with Min-jae on her hip. Mrs. Kim hovers nearby, protective. Ms. Miller. Mrs. Han approaches with a slight bow. Thank you for meeting me. Mrs. Han? Zuri returns the bow awkwardly, one-armed. The woman's eyes go immediately to Min-jae, hungry, not for possession, but for connection. He has Ji-hoon's eyes, but your strength in the chin, I think. He's his own person, Zuri says carefully. Of course. Mrs. Han extends the box, a small gift, traditional sweets, for the child. Zuri accepts it, an offering of peace. Thank you. They sit on a bench. Min-jae studies his grandmother with serious curiosity. Mrs. Han doesn't grab for him, doesn't demand, just waits. My son has been different, Mrs. Han says eventually. Since he found you again, or perhaps since he lost you. He stopped sleeping properly, stopped caring about succession plans. I thought it was stress, but it was grief. He never tried to find me. No, because you asked him not to. Mrs. Han's gaze is direct. There was a letter after you left. You made it clear you wanted no contact. He respected that, even as it destroyed him. Zuri's breath catches. She'd sent that letter, short, final, explaining nothing. She'd thought it merciful. Now she sees it might have been cruel. I didn't know I was pregnant when I wrote it, she whispers. I understand. But he didn't. He thought you'd chosen freedom over him. And in his world, where everything is about power and control, your choice. Mrs. Han pauses. It was the first time someone had walked away without being bought or threatened. It terrified him. So he let me go. He respected your wishes, which, for a man trained to never accept loss, was perhaps the greatest act of love he could offer. Mrs. Han looks at Min-jae. Until this one came along. Min-jae chooses that moment to reach for his grandmother. Mrs. Han's composure cracks, just slightly, as she accepts him, holds him like something precious and breakable. I've made mistakes with my son, she says quietly. Raised him for power, not happiness. Taught him to control, not to trust. But looking at this child, her voice roughens. I want better for him, and for Jihoon to have better. What are you asking me? Zuri needs it clear. I'm asking you to give him a real chance, not tests or trials, but partnership. He's trying, in his clumsy way, to be worthy of this, of you. Mrs. Han looks up. And I'm asking for the chance to know my grandson, not as an heir or obligation, just as Min-jae. The honesty is unexpected, disarming. Zuri sees where Jihoon got his directness. I'm scared, Zuri admits, of your world, of what it could do to him, to us. Good. Fear keeps you vigilant. Mrs. Han rocks Min-jae gently. He's dozed off against her shoulder. But don't let it keep you from building something real. My son is not an easy man. He's been shaped by violence and strategy. But underneath, she looks at the sleeping baby. Underneath, he's capable of such tenderness. You've already seen it. In glimpses. Then give him time to make it permanent. Mrs. Han carefully transfers Min-jae back to Zuri. I won't interfere, won't pressure, but know that you have my support. Both of you. If anyone in our circles gives you trouble, they'll answer to me. It's a promise of protection and power wielded differently, not to control, but to shield. Thank you, Zuri says. Means it. Mrs. Han stands, pauses. He loves you, you know. He hasn't said it. Jihoon was never good with those words. But I see it in how he speaks of you, how he prioritizes these mornings over million-dollar meetings. Love, for him, looks like showing up. Remember that. She leaves before Zuri can respond. The town car pulls away. Mrs. Kim emerges from where she's been pretending not to eavesdrop. Well? She asks in Korean. Well, Zuri echoes. Maybe this really could work. 3 weeks in, Jihoon has a key. Not because he demanded it, but because Zuri offered one morning when juggling Min-jae and groceries. He'd stood there, looking at the small piece of metal like it was a contract worth billions. You're sure? He'd asked. You're here every day anyway. Might as well make it easier. But they both knew it meant more. Trust, access, the slow rebuilding of something that once was. The call comes on a Thursday. Zuri's at work, handling the breakfast rush. Her phone vibrates insistently. Jihoon's name, then Mrs. Kim's, then an unknown number. Her stomach drops. She answers Mrs. Kim first. The baby! Mrs. Kim's voice is panicked. He's burning up. Very hot. I call ambulance. Zuri's already moving. I'm coming. Where? Hanam Hospital. They take him now. Zuri doesn't remember the subway ride. Doesn't remember pushing through the ER doors. Just remembers seeing Jihoon already there, in the waiting area, still in his suit from some meeting. When he sees her, he's there immediately. Solid. Present. He's with doctors, Jihoon says quickly. High fever, but conscious. They're running tests. What happened? Mrs. Kim said he was fine this morning. Then around 11, he got fussy. By noon, he was burning up. Jihoon's jaw is tight. I got here 20 minutes ago. I should have been here. I should have. You were working, providing for him. Don't do that. His hand finds her shoulder. We're both here now. A doctor emerges, young, efficient. Min-jae's parents? Yes, they say together. He has a high fever, 39.8 degrees. We've given him fever reducers and are monitoring. It appears to be a viral infection, common in infants, but we'd like to keep him overnight for observation. Can we see him? Zuri's voice shakes. Of course. He's awake and asking for... The doctor checks her notes. Mama. They follow her to the pediatric ward. Min-jae is in a crib, small and vulnerable under hospital lights, an IV in his tiny hand. When he sees Zuri, his face crumples, arms reaching. Oh, baby. She scoops him up carefully. Mama's here. I'm here. Min-jae clings to her, whimpering. Ji-hoon stands close, one hand on Zuri's back, the other gently touching Min-jae's sweaty forehead. He's so hot, Ji-hoon murmurs. The medicine will help, the doctor assures, but the next few hours are about keeping him comfortable and hydrated. They settle in. Zuri holds Min-jae in the rocking chair. Ji-hoon pulls another chair close. The nurse brings formula, but Min-jae won't take it. Too tired. Too uncomfortable. Try singing, Ji-hoon suggests quietly. That song you do in the mornings. Zuri's voice is rough, but she tries. A lullaby her grandmother taught her. Min-jae's eyes flutter, calmed by the familiar sound. Hours pass. The fever doesn't break. Min-jae dozes fitfully, waking to cry, then settling again. Zuri and Ji-hoon take turns holding him, walking him, trying to get him to drink even a little. Around midnight, with Min-jae finally sleeping more soundly, Zuri slumps in the chair. I was so scared, she whispers. Me too. Ji-hoon's on the floor beside her, exhausted. When Mrs. Kim called, I thought... He stops. Can't finish. That we'd lose him. Yes. Zuri looks at him. Really looks. This powerful man reduced to fear like anyone else. No control, no strategy. Just a father, terrified for his son. Thank you, she says, for being here. Where else would I be? A million places, 1,000 more important things. No, he's absolute. Nothing is more important than this, than him, than you. The confession hangs in the air. Zuri's too exhausted to deflect it. Too raw to pretend it doesn't matter. I love you, Ji-hoon says quietly. I should have said it 2 years ago, should have said it every day since. But I was afraid of what admitting it would mean, what it would demand from me. Ji-hoon, let me finish. He stands, moving to kneel beside her chair. Eye level, vulnerable. I love you. Not because of Min-jae, though he's the greatest gift, but because of who you are. Your strength. Your refusal to be bought or controlled. The way you've built a life from nothing and made it full. Tears slip down Zuri's cheeks. I'm terrified. Of what? Of believing you, of letting myself want this, and then... She gestures helplessly at Min-jae. What if something happens? What if your world catches up? What if... Then we face it together. His hand covers hers on Min-jae's back. I can't promise perfect safety, can't promise an easy life, but I can promise I'll be here. Every fever, every fear, every ordinary Tuesday. That's my commitment, for as long as you'll let me. The 5th love check fully realized. Commitment not as contract, but as choice renewed daily. I love you too, Zuri whispers. I never stopped. Even when I left, even when I was angry, I loved you. And that's what made it so hard. And now... She looks at their son. Peaceful, finally. Now I think maybe we could try. Really try. Not tests or probation, but partnership. Ji-hoon's smile is soft. Grateful. Partnership. Min-jae stirs, whimpers. They both lean in automatically, a united front of comfort. The baby settles without fully waking. He's going to be okay, the night nurse says, checking vitals. Fever's coming down. You both should rest. But neither does. They stay awake, watching their son breathe. Together. 3 months later, Zuri wakes to sunlight and the sound of voices. Not her cramped apartment. She's gotten used to the space now. Jihoon's house in Songbuk-dong. Not a cage, as she'd feared. Just home. She'd moved in slowly. A drawer at first. Then half the closet. Finally, fully, when the lease on the old place expired. Mrs. Kim has a room on the first floor now. Officially, Min Jae's nanny. Unofficially, family. Zuri follows the voices to the kitchen. Jihoon's there in pajama pants and a t-shirt, holding Min Jae while attempting to make pancakes with one hand. He's terrible at it. The batter's lumpy, the pan smoking slightly. You're supposed to let it cool first, she says from the doorway. Jihoon turns, sheepish. I wanted to surprise you. Consider me surprised. She moves in, takes over the pan. And charmed. Mostly because you tried. Min Jae reaches for her. Mama, Mama. And Appa? Jihoon prompts hopefully. Appa. Min Jae finally delivers the word. Jihoon's whole face lights up. Pure joy, unguarded. He said it. Did you hear? He called me Appa. Only took 4 months of relentless bribery. Worth every toy. Jihoon kisses Min Jae's head. Worth everything. They settle at the table. Sunlight streams through windows that overlook a garden. Real grass, flowering trees, space for Min Jae to run when he's older. It's beautiful. But what makes it home is the mess. Toys scattered. Min Jae's high chair with dried cereal. Zuri's medical textbooks on the counter. She's back in school. Part-time, manageable with Jihoon and Mrs. Kim's help. She'll graduate in 2 years, become the doctor she always planned to be. I have a meeting this afternoon, Jihoon mentions. Board of directors, the restructuring plan. Nervous? Terrified. He grins. But it's happening. The last gray market contracts end next month. By year's end, Beko Group will be fully legitimate. How does it feel? Lighter. He feeds Min Jae a piece of banana, like I can finally breathe without wondering what's coming. Any pushback? Some. But Mom handles the old guard better than I ever could. He looks at Zuri. And knowing I'm coming home to this, to you two, makes every difficult conversation worth it. Zuri reaches across the table, takes his hand. I'm proud of you. Yeah? Yeah. She means it. What you've done, changing everything, walking away from what was easy, that's real strength. I learned from you. Simple. True. They eat in comfortable quiet. Min Jae makes a mess, as toddlers do. Jihoon wipes him down patiently. Zuri makes more coffee. The domestic rhythm they've built. Later, when Jihoon's getting ready for his meeting, Zuri stops him. I was thinking. Dangerous. She smacks his arm lightly. I was thinking maybe we should talk about the future. Really talk. What kind of future? The permanent kind. She's nervous suddenly. The kind with, I don't know, legal paperwork, ceremony, commitment made official. Jihoon goes very still. Zuri Miller, are you proposing to me? Maybe, if you're interested. He crosses the room in 3 steps, cups her face in his hands. I've been interested since the moment I saw you again, holding our son, choosing survival over pride. Since before that, probably. Since you first told me off in that hospital cafeteria. That's not an answer. Yes. He kisses her softly. Yes, I'm interested. Yes, I want forever. Yes to whatever shape that takes, traditional, modern, your way or mine, or some version we build together. Korean ceremony and a church service? Both. All. Whatever makes you happy. You make me happy. The admission comes easier now. This life we're building, it's not what I imagined, but it's better. More real. More real, he agrees. Min-jae waddles over, pulling on Ji-hoon's pant leg. Up, up. They both reach for him, lift him together. 3 people becoming family through choice, through work, through showing up day after ordinary day. We should probably tell your mother, Zuri says, about the engagement, before she hears through some business channel. She already knows. What? She's been asking when I'd get around to it for weeks. Ji-hoon grins, even offered to help plan. Fair warning, she's very excited about a wedding. Of course she is. They stand together in the morning light. A Korean man from old power. A Black American woman building her own. And their son, bridge between worlds. Proof that love transcends the boundaries people build. I never thought I'd get this, Zuri says softly. A partner who stays. A family that feels safe. Neither did I. Ji-hoon holds them both. I thought power was the goal. Respect through fear. But this... He gestures at the messy kitchen, the life they've made. This is everything I didn't know I needed. It started with a text, she muses. 3 words about milk. Best message I ever received. Most terrifying one I ever sent. They laugh together. Min-jae babbles along, not understanding but joining the joy anyway. The camera, metaphorically, pulls back. Shows the house on the hill. Shows Seoul stretching out below, vast and complex. Shows one small family choosing each other day by day. Voiceover. Zuri's voice, warm and reflective. People think romance is about grand gestures, flowers and declarations, but real love? It's about showing up. It's about 7 a.m., mornings and hospital chairs. It's about choosing to change, to grow, to be better than you were. It's about sending a message when you're desperate and scared. About showing up when you'd rather run. About learning to trust again after trust was broken. Sometimes the most inspirational stories aren't about people who have everything figured out. They're about people who don't. Who mess up and try again. Who build love out of mistakes and milk runs and middle-of-the-night fevers. We're not perfect. We're not even close. But we're here, together. And that's enough. That's everything. The screen fades to the 3 of them. Ji-hoon, Zuri, Min-jae, sitting together in morning sunlight. No dramatic music. No perfect staging. Just a family. Real. Flawed. Whole. Thank you for spending these 50 minutes with us, sharing in a story of second chances and chosen family. If this reminded you that love can survive mistakes and grow stronger through them, that it's never too late to start again, please subscribe to this channel. Every day we share stories of hope, healing, and hearts that find their way home. We'd love to have you join our community. Until next time, remember, sometimes all it takes is 3 words to change everything. Good night and sweet dreams.